This is way worse than we thought, as some brand new reports have dropped revealing advanced statistics and analytics that showcase exactly why Kevin Patullos' offense has been so ineffective this NFL season. And we're going to get into exactly what these stats and analytics mean and how they relate to exactly why our top receivers have not been receiving the ball and why A.J. Brown might be so disgruntled with this Eagles team so far this year. How's it going, guys? Jack here with another edition of the Eagles Digest. Before we get into everything, we noticed that 98.4% of you are not subscribed. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and comment down below how you feel about the Birds heading into this matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. Guys, I know that the offense has been really frustrating to watch this year, and the defense has come up clutch so many times, especially in these past 2 weeks, ensuring that we win this game. They have absolutely 100% won us these past two matchups against the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. But I want to get into these advanced stats here and analytics that showcase the receivers typically and the passing routes that they've been running so far this year, and why that might relate to why Kevin Patullos' play calling and his offensive scheme has not been equating to big yardage plays like it was last year under Kellen Moore. But let's take a look at these stats here, guys. We have a tweet here that notes that the Eagles are running hitch routes at a historically high rate in 2025. Now, if you don't know what a hitch route is, it's when a receiver runs in a straight line around 5 to 8 yards and quickly turns around. It's usually used in, I want to say, early downs or maybe third and medium. But he goes on here to say that despite being 30th in the NFL in total routes, since they run often and keep players into block when passing, they have run the second most hitch routes in the entire NFL. And he goes on to say that hitch routes serve two main purposes. You hit them on the break, especially versus zone, as an influence route to grab a zone defender. So maybe they're used sometimes as decoys to kind of pull one of the defenders out of their zone and open up a play for one of the other receivers. He goes on to say that the problem is that the Eagles rarely throw at the break. They only use the hitch as an influence route when running rapid. They have hitches on the backside that are smothered by the time the progression gets to them. Hitches are great, but the volume and method in which the Eagles have deployed them is actively hurting their offense. And I mean, that's a clear statement point right there that we can see on the television when we're watching the Birds every other week, that obviously the offense is not getting downfield. They're not getting into the red zone as much as they were last year. And you want to take a look at this chart here, that on the left side it says the percentage of routes that are hitches, and then on the bottom it says the total routes. So those are the total routes that the Eagles have run this year, and then on the side indicates how many of them have been hitch routes. And you can obviously see that the Philadelphia Eagles are clearly the top team in the NFL so far this year that is running hitch routes. And obviously running hitch routes for the highest percentage of every game is not going to help the team and not going to help the offense at all. I mean, you wonder why A.J. Brown has been so disgruntled with this offense so far. It's because that he's not being utilized the correct way. Even other receivers like DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and even Jahan Dotson, they're not being utilized correctly. I mean, Kevin Patullo has been running hitch routes mostly so far this year, and that's obviously not going to lead to big yardage plays. It's not going to lead to us getting downfield. Of course, I mean, A.J. Brown, I can kind of understand where he's coming from now, that he's just really not being utilized correctly, and he's kind of just putting his talents to waste right now on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I hope that they can kind of come back together and really look at what other routes that they can run, because I mean, I saw another report from NFL Next Gen Stats from Amazon that the routes that he was running against the Detroit Lions, even though he was targeted around 10 or 11 times, I mean, he only had around maybe 40 yards, but he had 4 receptions. But those routes that he was running were not effective. They weren't being used the right way, and teams can easily just see if you're running hitch routes for the highest percentage in the league. Obviously, teams are going to be able to pick that out and know exactly what you're going to do. I mean, that's not rocket science. They know exactly what the offensive coordinator is going to call. They know what play they're going to do when it's a passing snap, and I mean, that's just going to be easy to pick out, and that's something that they need to change going into this matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. Well, we have another report here that kind of just adds on to the previous tweet there that says to follow up on the Eagles' X's and O's observation about the Eagles' hitch routes. The Eagles are running more hitch routes than any team in the True Media database since 2012. Here's every team since 2021 with crossers on the other axis to provide a stylistic contrast to hitches. And you look at this chart right here, guys. I might be a little bit hard to read. I'm sorry about that, so I'll try my best to read it out for you. But on the bottom there, it says crossing route percentage, and then on the left, it says the hitch route percentage. And you can see that the Eagles, of course, are one of the highest teams in hitch route percentage there ever since 2021 when Nick Sirianni came in. And you see there, our lowest year in hitch routes was around 2022, and that was the year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl for the first time against the Kansas City Chiefs. And above that, 2021, that's the year that Nick Sirianni came in, as I said, and Jalen Hurts became the starting quarterback. So you can understand why Jalen Hurts was, throwing a lot of hitch routes in 2021, clearly not as much as in 23, 24, and 25, because, they were probably just trying to figure out what exactly the kind of throws that he can make at this stage in his career. He was just coming in. Jalen Hurts, of course, is not known as being one of the best passers in the NFL in terms of ball placement and accuracy, and that's something that is definitely showing on this offense. But it also leads to him not turning the ball over, which he hasn't done this year. He's only thrown one interception so far this season, so he's obviously taking really great care of the ball. But it's also to a point where he may be a little afraid to throw the ball because he doesn't want to turn it over. But there has to be a point where you need to be able to, you got to be able to get yards, right? You can't be afraid to throw the ball. I'm not saying that he's scared to throw, but I think he's just being a little extra careful and a little cautious. He's still running out of clean pockets sometimes here and there, but he has definitely improved in the aspect of knowing when to scramble and knowing when to throw the right ball, knowing what receiver exactly to throw to. I know there's been a few times this year where he's overthrown the receivers. He did that a lot against the Detroit Lions and overthrew a lot of guys, but he still finds a way to come out and win the games that we need to win. But of course, you can clearly see, according to this chart, that the Philadelphia Eagles are not at a high percentage in crossing routes, which is really quite surprising because, that's where especially A.J. Brown really thrives, is going across the middle of the field. He's one of the most physical receivers in the NFL. He's also one of the best yards after catch receivers in the NFL. So when you're running hitch routes, yeah, he can break off a tackle most likely, but it's harder because you're breaking off your momentum. When you're throwing the ball to someone in stride, it's going to be much easier for them to shake defenders and break tackles. But when you're throwing them to them on a hitch route, they have to stop and then they have to gain back their momentum, and it's going to be much easier for defenders to take them down. So that's going to kind of lead into my next little graphic here that relates to the relationship between yards after catch and hitch routes. And you can see that the Philadelphia Eagles there are, of course, towards the top of hitch route percentage, almost at 24% there. And then you can see on the left side the yards after catch completion on all routes. And obviously when you're throwing a hitch route, you're not going to get the yards after catch. That's not hard to tell looking at this chart here. Obviously, we're not doing that this year. A.J. Brown's numbers have been down to almost a career low. So, they need to come together and look exactly at what these hitch routes are doing and, when to effectively use them and not make them the highest percentage of passing plays on these passing routes that they're doing. So they really need to fix this. They really need to kind of just come together and make sure that this team is not throwing all these hitch routes all the time, and it's really, really stagnant and repetitive, and teams are calling them out. I know that Chad Johnson made some comments on this. He says here that he can tell exactly what route A.J. Brown is going to do based on the alignment before the play. And he's quoted saying, "If I know it and I'm not watching film and just watching games on Sunday, what do you think those across from him are doing?" So, yeah, you look at Chad Johnson, who looks at the game, of course, as a wide receiver, being one of the best wide receivers of his era. But, what do you think that a defender is doing? What do you think a corner or a safety or a defensive back is doing who is watching film all week and watching the team and knowing exactly their tendencies and what they're going to do? They don't really have to do much research because the Philadelphia Eagles are only running hitch routes. And you take a look at this tweet here that says, "Kevin Patullos and Sirianni are quite obsessed with the hitch route. The rankings for most hitch routes run per game via True Media. You have Dallas Goedert at 2, DeVonta Smith at 3, and A.J. Brown at 16. No other team has 2 players in the top 16. The Eagles have 3. So, that's just another testament to how much this Eagles team is running hitch routes, and it's clearly not working. So, again, they need to go into this game against Dallas, and I think they just need to scrap the offensive playbook right now and get rid of all these hitch routes. Of course, you need to incorporate them when they're needed and when you think they're going to be effective, but they need to incorporate more crossing routes, more play action, and definitely some more throws across the middle of the field. But I want to get your guys' opinion on this and what exactly kind of plays they should be running to really get this offense going, especially where we're halfway through the season now, over halfway through the season, and we're getting closer to the playoffs, and we've got some tough matchups against winning teams that are gunning for playoff spots like the Bears and the Chargers. So give me your thoughts down below, guys. How you feel about all these stats here that I listed here today, and how you feel about them going into this game against the Dallas Cowboys. And as always, guys, thanks a lot. Go Birds.